There's a lot of people who I would consider conservative, who I'd be perfectly willing to sit down and have a conversation with, or, you know, even hang out with. I don't think Kirk is on that list. Like, you have Kirk, you have Shapiro, you have Matt Walsh, you have Mark Dice, Steven Crowder. Most of them, I'd basically go, no. So there was an article that was suggested to me in my video suggestions channel. Sidebar, if you ever want something covered on my channel, the best way to do so is to drop it in the video suggestions channel on the Discord. That shameless plug for my Discord out of the way, let's go ahead and get into today's topic, which is evangelical apologetics and the far-right conspiracy problem. Because, of course, we've seen with things like the MAGA movement and the Trump prophecy and all that other fun stuff, there's a lot of far-right conspiracy theories that get wrapped up into generic everyday Christendom. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and get into the fan art section. We have this one from Kitsune non Matamura, or Mataramua. I think I'm getting things wrong. Also, low-fat latte, make a pioneer deck. Anyway, not too quality focused this time, was just trying to get rid of boredom. Hope you enjoy a Toon Suris, about to flatten a Toon Neko coin. Oh, it's just Steamboat Willie Suris about to commit a violence. The next one we have here is from Axo that has cream. I got bored in bio class. Insert Morgan Freeman voice. Here we see the mother slime and the genus Surisdae transporting its young, also called a chat, to a new location in a spectacular event known as a raid. Few get to see this migration in action. If you look closely, you can see one of the chat members rebelling against the mother slime. Oh my god. I'm glad that the voice that I needed to read that in was put first, so I could actually go through it correctly. As always, everybody, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. With that said, if you haven't hit the like button or subscribed already, please go ahead and do so, and let's go ahead and get right into today's topic. So let's go ahead and pull this up so we can do some reading. Evangelical apologetics and the far-right conspiracy problem. Evangelical apologetics have long been associated with right-wing Republican politics. This continued when Donald Trump ran for president in 2016. In this article, I want to consider what seems to me a disturbing and emerging trend of evangelical apologists moving closer to far-right leaders and conspiracy theories. I don't claim to offer anything like social scientific research to support my claim. I offer only some high-profile anecdotes and ask you to consider for yourself whether evangelical apologists are becoming increasingly partisan and in some cases at least radicalized. Well, I think I can go ahead and poison that well and say that actually, yeah, we already know from, well, if you've been watching my channel for a while, that far-right conspiracy theories and Christian partisanship kind of go hand in hand, but let's go ahead and read the article itself and see what conclusions are raised by the author. The pragmatic partnership. Despite Donald Trump's overt racism, habitual lying, malignant narcissism, sexism and misogyny, amorality, and manifest unfitness for office, leading apologists like Norman Geisler developed a pragmatic rationale for voting for him. While William Lane Craig insists that he has stayed out of politics, as I document in this article, he also had what seems to me a problematic relationship with Trump and the Republican Party. Platforming conspiracy theorists. The partisan and pragmatic defense of far-right and manifestly unfit political candidates is one thing. More recently, I have noticed some evangelical apologists sidling up to far-right conspiracy theorists. For one high-profile case, consider the mutual admiration shared by apologist Frank Turek and conservative activist Charlie Kirk. So for those who don't know, Charlie Kirk is another far-right commentator. If you've ever seen the meme of the guy whose face inadvertently shrinks more and more, that's Charlie Kirk. That's him. Turning Point USA memes are hilarious. But see, I could go into detail about who he is, realistically, but most people are going to know him from the memes. Frank Turek, on the other hand, is a Christian apologist who tends to try to argue that they are very, very rational, and it's hard to say what Frank Turek's ideology actually is sometimes. But the more of it that you see, the more of his ideology that he lets out, the more yikesy he seems to be, at least as far as I can tell. There's so much we could say about Kirk's crass partisanship and links to conspiracy theories, but one example should suffice. Shortly after Paul Pelosi was assaulted by an intruder wielding a hammer last October, Kirk was on his show suggesting that the assault was a sexual tryst gone wrong and was calling for a patriot to bail the hammer-wielding intruder out of prison, which, of course, we have that.
I mean, I'm looking at Politico.com, I'm looking at the New York Times, I'm looking at all these places, and there's a little bit of mention here. For example, Politico says top Republicans reject any link between GOP rhetoric and Paul Pelosi assault. Of course you should reject any link. Why is the Republican Party, why is the conservative movement to blame for gay schizophrenic nudists that are hemp jewelry makers breaking into somebody's home, or maybe not breaking into somebody's home? Why are we to blame for that example?
Why did they shop his face smaller here too? No. His face is just naturally that small. His face is just naturally very, very small.
And why is he still in jail? Why has he not been bailed out? By the way, if some amazing patriot out there in San Francisco or the Bay Area wants to really be a midterm hero, someone should go and bail this guy out. I bet his bail's like 30 or 40,000 bucks. Bail him out and then go ask him some questions. I wonder what his bail is. They're going after him with attempted murder, political assassination, all this sort of stuff. I'm not qualifying it. I think it's awful. It's not right. But why is it that in Chicago you're able to commit murder and be out the next day? Why is it that you're able to trespass, second-degree murder, arson, threat of public official, cashless bail? This happens all over San Francisco, but if you go after the Pelosi's, oh, you're let out immediately.
So maybe it's because not every single case is black and white, Kirk. Maybe it's because there's more factors involved than what, I don't know, a random-ass podcasters would know? Yeah, murder, famously legal in Chicago. Famously legal. I've been reading the Dresden Files, and there's a lot of murders that happen there. And they're all very legal. Murphy's very okay with all of them. Marcone's entire operation is 100% okayed by Chicago PD. Yeah, it's lazy thinking. It all just ends up being very, very lazy thinking. Wanting to bail somebody out who attacked somebody who you don't like politically, when they've done something that brutal to them, I don't know. Axolotls with a cream. Thank you for redeeming your points for an owl. Today, the video of the assault on Pelosi was released, and it shockingly is very violent. It was deeply disturbing. Needless to say, it underscores just how deplorable Kirk's coy promotion of the despicable sexual tryst conspiracy theory is. Kirk has been active on Twitter today since the release of the Pelosi video. 19 tweets today and counting, but no mention of the raw footage, and certainly no public apology to the Pelosi family for promoting the sexual tryst conspiracy theory, and knowing Kirk, no apology is likely to come. Needless to say, a person like Kirk is the last person with which a Christian apologist interested in promoting Christianity to a skeptical world should be associating. Despite this, Christian apologist Frank Turek has appeared on Kirk's program, and Turek has likewise hosted Kirk on his podcast. So there's certainly something to be said about the fallacy of affiliation, the guilt by association fallacy. There's certainly something to be said about it. At the same time, though, there's certain people that I would not actively pal around with, and I don't know, Charlie Kirk's on that list of people that I would actively avoid being near. There's a lot of people who I would consider conservative, who I'd be perfectly willing to sit down and have a conversation with, or, you know, even hang out with. I don't think Kirk is on that list. Like, you have Kirk, you have Shapiro, you have Matt Walsh, you have Mark Dice, Steven Crowder. Most of them, I'd basically go, no. No. I'll heckin' pass. My issue isn't that Turek appears on Kirk's show, rather it is that Turek is helping to promote and platform Kirk among evangelicals, and the man he's advocating is a consistent purveyor of highly partisan misinformation, which is deeply corrosive to the social fabric. Promoting a sexual tryst conspiracy theory when a man is violently assaulted in his own home is but one example. For our final stop, we move from Christian apologists who platform far-right partisans and conspiracy theorists to those who join them. The first example is philosopher Robert Koons. I first encountered Dr. Koons' work 23 years ago in an excellent essay critiquing naturalism. Today, his Twitter feed has become a repository of MAGA and Trump-related conspiracy theories. For example, Trump is the only one we can count on to save us from the deep state, except no substitutes. For an even more high-profile example, consider Dinesh D'Souza. Oh god, fucking Dinesh. The one-time author of the best-selling apologetics book What's So Great About Christianity, and a high-profile debater of Christopher Hitchens. He has in recent years become one of the most virulent right-wing partisans and an enthusiastic purveyor of far-right conspiracy theories. For example, D'Souza has been on the vanguard of promoting the discredited conspiracy theories about the 2020 election. In conclusion, is there a trend here? Is there a growing problem? As I said, I provide only selected anecdotes, but that is enough to concern me. With the pragmatic arguments of 2016 that rationalized supporting a man wholly unfit for office, we are now in a place where, so it seems to me, American evangelical apologetics is overwhelmingly Republican and, in some high-profile cases, increasingly migrating to the far right and even into conspiracy theorization, unmoored from reality. For those concerned with truth and the witness of Christianity in a skeptical world, this is a serious concern worth addressing. So I brought that up because the tentative apologist, Randall Rouser, this whole idea, these are the observations of a theologian. These are the observations of somebody who is a Christian and specifically is seeing all of this from their perspective. It should be incredibly alarming if what 5 years ago was a thing that the atheist movement specifically was pointing out, but now is something that is being pointed out on practically all sides of the religious spectrums. It should be kind of alarming that we're all seeing right-wing extremism. We're all seeing delving into far-right conspiracy theories. Things like Pizzagate. Things like the 2020 election conspiracy, things like the vaccination conspiracy theories. The fact that that is being noted on all sides is enough of an example to me that shit keeps getting worse. But this is where I've, of course, got to throw everything back to you. I wanted to go through this article because I thought it was a very interesting suggestion, and the anecdotes that are brought up are worth talking about. So that's what the comment section is for. Let's talk about this. If you're a Christian in my audience and you see the same things here, let's talk about that. Hit the like button if you haven't already, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here.